Chandaya Adhikaya Gurave Gaura Chandaya Adhikaya Tadali Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Sri Nandananam Bande Radhika Chananadvayam Yes, Gopi Jana Samayuktam Vrindavan Jami Radham Aravindanetram Smarami Radham Marudasmitasyam Vadami Radham Karunavadaram Can you pass my phone? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo. Okay, first of all, I offer pranams to our Gurudev, Vishnupada Danti Swami Sivaktivedanta, Narayan Gosai Maharaj, Arupanuga Guru Varga, all devotees, Dandavats. So today is chapter 12, Nitya-dharma and Sadhana. This also is the end of chapter concerning Sambandha Gyan, the first section. So the second section deals with Abhideya, what's he want? And the third deals with Prayojan. So today is the introduction of, last class we heard Vaishnava Dharma and idolatry. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur giving from every aspect, different people's experience, different backgrounds. So everyone, some instruction for them. Last chapter was for the Muslims, Sanatan Dharma and idol worship, deity worship. So, chapter 12. So in Navadvip Dham, that is the most holy place in Jambudvip. Jambudvip means, in a simple manner, earth planet. So, there is one of the 9 islands, it's called Simantadvip. So, at that time, Mother Sachi's father, Nilambara Chakravarti, he used to live in that place. He did the astrology chart of Lord Chaitanya. So in that same village was a Vedic Brahmin named Brajanath Bhattacharya. Brajanath was expert in the philosophy of Nyaya. Nyaya means logic and argument. So he was expert. At the age of 21, he was a Digvijay Pandit, means he defeated everyone in all the neighboring regions with his arguments. Also, he had found many faults in the different previous commentaries on the Nyaya Shastra, and all feared him whenever there was some, like Sabha, some religious meeting. Then Brajanath would defeat everyone with his arguments. So he was super intelligent, very knowledgeable. So there was one other Pandit who had been defeated in the public assembly. His name was Nayaka Chudamani. So he felt so much pain at being publicly humiliated. So with the resolve to finish Brajanath, he went to the cremation grounds, and there he was on the Amavasya, the dark night, the dark moon night, in the cremation ground of Rudradweep. He was offering death mantras in a yagya to finish Brajanath Bhattacharya. So as the lightning flashed, the power of that mantra was very strong. So in the flashes of lightning, you could see ghosts and other hobgoblins. And he was also drinking some sacrificial wine. This is Tantra. It said if you do all this and the ghosts that come and you're not afraid of them, then you can control those ghosts by your Tantra and they fulfill your desire. But have to be quite fearless for that. So again and again he chanted the mantra, and the voice came. Oh, do not worry, Brajanath, Nyaya Panchanya, Bhattacharya, in a very few days he will become peaceful and quiet. He will give up the debating and remain silent. He will no longer be your rival, be peaceful and return home. So Chudamani became very happy. So actually Didi was saying that why Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave this introduction, that we should not be afraid of any like ghosts or curses or black magic or tantra. Because one who surrenders to Bhagavan, he is protected by all these things. He never gets any inauspicious result. So, day and night, he was absorbed in thinking of Nyaya, means the properties, the qualities of liquids, the nature of space, the elements of earth. He was always absorbed in these things. He had found many faults in the previous commentaries and had written his own commentary. While eating, sleeping, and dreaming or moving, his hearts were full of these thoughts. But spiritual thoughts had never come in his mind. What happens after death? Who is God? No, but he was absorbed fully in material things. Therefore, Didi said, is one is really absorbed fully in one thing that will attract Krishna's mercy, attract Krishna's attention. Not like, what was his name, who wrote Krishna Karanamrita, Bilva Mangal Thakur, fully absorbed in the prostitute, fully absorbed. He didn't care about his body or his reputation or death, just fully absorbed in that. So this feeling attracts Krishna because Krishna attracted by Nishta. So Brajanath had this quality of full absorption, only was in a material thing. So one day he was on the bank of the Ganga, Brajanath was there. He was contemplating the 16 categories propounded by Gautam in the system of logic. When a student came and asked him a question, oh, Nyaya, Panchanya Mahasai, Brajanath Bhattacharya, have you heard of the logic of Nimai Pandit? Then Brajanath roared like a lion. You mean the son of Jagannath Mishra, Nimai Pandit? Tell me about his arguments. Tell me about his life. Oh, there was a person named Nimai Pandit. He lived in this Navadvip area a little, just over 100 years ago. He wrote many arguments on the Nyaya Shastra. He found also many faults in Kanai Bhatta Siromani's commentary, and he wrote his own commentary. There was one school student of, pay attention Damayanti, there was one student called Raghunandan. So he had written a commentary on the Nyaya, then he showed to Nimai Pandit. And Nimai said, oh, before I read yours, I also wrote a commentary, read mine. So when Raghunandan read the commentary of Nimai, he began weeping. It was so perfect. And he realized, if anyone reads this commentary of Nimai Pandit, no one will give any importance to mine. That's why he was crying. So Nimai Pandit said, oh, my commentary gives you distress. So he took his commentary and threw in the Ganga, like that. So this is the Leela of Lord Chaitanya, as a student. He absorbed in Vidya Vilas, the pastimes of material learning. So he also was Digvijay Pandit. He defeated all the Pandits everywhere. No? So, but in the end, he gave up the study of Nyaya Shastra. Indeed, he gave up the whole world and took sannyas and preached Harinam Sankirtan. Present day Vaishnavas worship him as Purna Brahma Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they worship him by the Gaura Hari Mantra. No? The Gaura Hari Mantra. Like Krishna has his Krishna mantra, so Lord Chaitanya also has his mantra. No? So you should please study his writings once. So Brajanath became very excited. Oh. So when he heard the praise of Nimai Pandit's Nyaya, logic, then with great difficulty he began researching who is Nimai Pandit, what did he teach, what did he say. So he managed to collect some of these writings from different sources. And generally, someone has faith in someone after they dies, after they leave. So gradually, he felt great faith in Nimai Pandit. So gradually, by studying Nimai's logical presentations, Rajnath developed unflinching faith and attraction to Lord Chaitanya. He would say, "Oh, Nimai Pandit, if I was born at the same time as you, there is no telling how much of a great scholar of Nyaya I could have become. Oh, Nimai Pandit, please enter my heart just once. You must be the Supreme Lord, Parabrahma. Otherwise, how could you make such extraordinary logical arguments?" And that Lord Chaitanya would establish one philosophy, then everyone would be astonished. Then he would defeat it by a new philosophy. Everyone would be astonished. He would defeat that philosophy and make a new one. Everyone was astonished. Then he would defeat that new one. Then he would establish the first thing he said would be correct. This way he spent his time. So you must be the Supreme Lord, otherwise how you could make such arguments? You are Gaura Hari because you have destroyed the ignorance by creating such remarkable arguments. The darkness of ignorance is black, but you have removed it by becoming Gaur, fair complexion. You are Hari because you steal away the mind of everyone. With the ingenuity of your logic, you have stolen away my heart also. Thus, Brajanath became like a fanatic. He was always chanting, "Oh Nimai Pandit, oh Gaura Hari, please be merciful to me when I will be able to create logical arguments like you." So gradually his heart had become purified by constantly chanting the names of Bhagavan like Nimai Pandit, Gaura Hari. So he thought the Vaishnavas that live at Srivasangam, they must also be attracted to the logical arguments of Nimai Pandit like I am. So sometimes he would go to Srivasangam and he would hear pastimes of Lord Chaitanya from them. So one day he was at home and his grandmother was there. He asked, "Oh grandmother, did you ever see Nimai Pandit?" Then grandmother began to weep. Oh, what an extraordinary form he had. One time he came here to this village because that was his grandfather's house. And the ladies of our house served sag to him. How beautiful was his form when he would chant Harinam Sankirtan. The birds, the bees, the trees, the humans would weep in love of God. Even now, when I remember the beauty of his form, tears stream down my cheeks and onto my chest. So Brajanath said, "Do you remember any pastimes he did?" "Yes, yes, our ladies of our house fed him sak." At that time, coincidentally, Brajanath's mother put some sak on his plate. And Brajanath said, "This is the sak of Nimai Pandit." And with great respect, he took. Thus, even though Brajanath was completely lacking in any transcendental knowledge, he became extremely attracted to Nimai Pandit's brilliant scholarship. Indeed, we cannot underestimate the intensity of his attraction. If some beggars came to his house, Jai Sachinandan, he would feed them and welcome them very warmly. If he would see any Babajis chanting the name Gaura Hari, he would ask them questions about Gauranga's Leela. After a few months of these activities, then Brajanath had completely changed. Now the logician Nimai Pandit was no longer in his heart. Now the form of devotee Nimai was there. So Brajanath's heart would dance. Hey Sima! Brajanath's heart would dance when he would hear the mridanga. Can you tell Sima to shut up? His heart would dance when he would hear the mridanga. When he would see the pure Vaishnavas, in his mind he would do pranam. No? And he thought, if such a great scholar like Nimai Pandit could give up all Nyaya, then what is the harm if I do also? So, thinking like that, he said, when I see the Vaishnavas in Srivas Angan, when I see the purity and effulgence of their faces, I feel great happiness. But still, amongst all of them, there was one Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj. When I see him, I don't know why, but my heart becomes full of Shraddha. I would like to learn from him the Bhakti Shastras because in Upanishads it says Atmava Adi Drastavya Shrotavya Mantavyo Yuddha Asitavaha. The absolute truth should be meditated upon, thought about, and seen. Therefore, heard about means I need some guru. I spend my whole life in useless arguments. Without any wasting any more time, I will dedicate my whole life to Lord Chaitanya. So thinking like that, on dusk, he went to Srivasangam, that is where Chandkazi had broken the Madanga in the house of Srivas Thakur. So dusk time, when all the birds were returning to their nests and the sun was slowly setting, Brajanath went and sat underneath one tree there, a bakul tree. That time the Vaishnavas were performing Gora Arati. So when he heard the Gora Arati to Lord Chaitanya, his heart melted. Afterwards, all the Vaishnavas came and were sitting there. That time, Raghunath Das Babaji also came. When he came, all the other Vaishnavas stood up and did pranam. So Brajanath didn't know why, but he also did the same. Raghunath Das Babaji asked, "Who is this boy?" "Oh, he is very famous. His name is Brajanath. He is a great scholar of Nyaya. Now he has developed some faith in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya." So Raghunath Das Babaji said, "Oh, you are a resident of the Dham, you are Brahmin. So please cool the burning sensation in our hearts by speaking some pastimes of your Lord Chaitanya." So when this way they began talking. So finally Brajanath said, "Oh Babaji Maharaj, I don't know why, by some good fortune, I've developed faith in your character. Actually, because I was born in a Brahmin family, I was intoxicated with my high birth and learning. I could never offer respect to any sadhu, but I don't know by what good fortune I have developed faith in your character." So Brajanath asked, "Oh, Maharaj, please give me some instructions. What is the ultimate goal, the ultimate destination of all souls, of all the jivas? What is the sadhya? And what is the sadhan? What is the process to achieve that perfection? I have studied the Nyaya so much, the Nyaya Shastra, and from that I've understood that there is an eternal difference between the Jiv and Ishwara, God, and that sadhana is the process to please the Supreme Lord. But even though I've studied the Nyaya Shastra again and again, I cannot understand what is the ultimate goal of life or how to achieve it. Please tell me your conclusions regarding the sadhya and sadhana, the goal and the process." Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj, who was he? He was a disciple of Raghunath Das Goswami. He spent many years in Radhakund with Raghunath Das Goswami, and every day Raghunath Das Goswami would speak the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya for 4 hours a day. So if there was any question, he would also discuss with Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and if there was anything they could not understand, they would ask to Raghunath Das Goswami. After the disappearance of Raghunath Das Goswami, then Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj came to back to Gaurmandal, and there he became the leading Pandit Vaishnav of that Gaurmandal. So him, Raghunath Das Babaji and Prem Das Babaji, Paramahamsa Babaji, sorry, we heard about him in the first chapter. Regularly they would discuss Prem Vivata and other topics. So Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj, now we'll just call him Babaji. Maharaj, he said, you are very fortunate. One who studies the Nyaya and asks such a question, what is the goal of life and how to achieve it, really, his study of Nyaya is successful. Otherwise, if his study of Nyaya just one becomes expert in useless arguments, then it is a waste of time. Because he spent his whole life studying logic and he's come to an illogical conclusion. Then his study is useless and his life has no value. So, try to hear everyone very carefully. Okay? So, there are three goals of life. Three different goals of the jivas. Three different eligibilities. Three different tastes. Okay? So the first is called bhukti, material enjoyment. Material enjoyment in this life is called ahik sukh. Ahik sukh. That means happiness in this body, in this world right now, and happiness in the next life, amutrik sukh. That means the heavenly planets and what have you. You know? So bhukti is some souls attracted towards material enjoyment, some souls attracted towards liberation from birth and death, and some souls are attracted to devotion, bhakti. Okay, so three goals, three types of people. And therefore, because there are three different goals, there are also three different sadhanas, three different spiritual practices to achieve these three different goals. Okay, so, but the ultimate goal is only one, of course. So there are three goals one may wish to achieve: bhukti, mukti, or bhakti. The scriptures are like a wish fulfilling cow. The scriptures fulfill the desires of everyone. So you cannot blame the scriptures. We have to also be very careful of our desire. And scriptures fulfill what you want, you will find in the scriptures. So a human being can fulfill any desire by the grace of the scriptures. So the section dealing with the attainment of material enjoyment in this life and the next life, this is called the karma kand, fruitive activity. These scriptures describe all type of material enjoyment that you can get in this life or any other life. And because the souls in this world all have material bodies, most people are very fond of material enjoyment, sense enjoyment. No? There are many types of sensual pleasure. In this world, the happiness we get in this earth planet is very gross. Sex life, eating, this type of thing. But you should know in the higher planets, the enjoyment becomes more subtle and more intense, more condensed. Therefore, scriptures describe so many, whatever one wants to get in this world. In this world, what is happiness? Wealth, respect, beautiful and obedient wife, qualified children, handsome body, material learning. So scriptures, the karma kanda scriptures describe, if you want, all these different types of enjoyment and how to achieve it. But in the higher planets like the Swarga, the heavenly planets, there is even more enjoyment. For example, dancing with the heavenly damsels, smelling the flowers of the Nandakanan gardens. So there is even more enjoyment here in the heavenly planets than the earth planet. The women in the heavenly planets are so beautiful they make the women of this world look like orangutans. So, also above the Swargalok, the heavenly planets, is Mahalok, Janalok, Tapalok, and the planet of Brahma, Satyalok. No, the scriptures give lesser descriptions of Mahalok, lesser descriptions still of Tapalok, and very few descriptions of Brahmalok. No? Because the rule is the higher one goes, the more material enjoyment is, and the more subtle it is, therefore more difficult to attain. So there is no spiritual happiness at all in these 14 planetary systems. Whatever happiness is related to the gross and subtle body. So, all this enjoyment is called bhukti, and one can fulfill all these desires by studying the Karma Kand section of the Vedas. The enjoyment of all these types of pleasure is called bhukti, and the sadhana, the practice for the souls trapped in the cycle of karma, consists of activities they adopt to fulfill their aspirations for material enjoyment. No? For example, Babaji Maharaj quotes the Yajurveda, Swarga kamo asvamedam yajitas. If one wants to attain the heavenly planets, he should perform the Asvamedha Yagya. In this way, the scriptures describe many different types of practice to attain the goal of material enjoyment, such as fire sacrifice, Agnistahom, oblations and worship of the different demigods, because the higher planets controlled by the demigods, digging wells, building temples, distribution of foodstuffs, beneficial works for others, performing ceremonies on the full moon and new moon. Bhukti is the object of enjoyment for those who desire. Bhukti is the object, the sadhya, for those who desire material enjoyment. So most people in this world perform some religion to get some enjoyment in this world. But some are those who become sick of this world. They realize no matter where I go, even to the topmost planet, that is also temporary, that is also controlled by time. There is also death and fear. There is also lust, envy, all these things. Therefore, instead of trying to enjoy this world, they think how to escape from the cycle of birth and death. So they desire liberation. Therefore, they consider mukti or liberation to be their goal. And therefore, they give up bhukti, material enjoyment, considering it to be bondage. After all, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ksini puni matya lokam vishante. When one's pious activities are finished, again he falls. So karma can't always give a temporary result. So thinking like that, he abandons the path of karma. He develops taste, faith, and interest in achieving mukti. So now he has a new sadhya, a new goal. Therefore, they think mukti is eternal, liberation from birth and death is eternal. Therefore, that should be the real goal of the souls. Therefore, mukti, to achieve liberation, there's a different sadhana. Okay, that is called sadhana chatusta. That means discrimination between what is eternal and temporary. Developing the 6 qualities like celibacy, truthfulness, cleanliness, control of the mind and senses. Cultivating desire for liberation. These are called sadhana chatusta, the 4 limbs of sadhana for a jnani. Okay? So the section of the Vedas dealing with liberation is called the Gyan Kand. Okay, everyone understand? Karma Kand, how to fulfill material desires. Gyan Kand, how to achieve liberation. Okay. As we heard before, the scriptures are a wish-fulfilling cow. Therefore, those who have interest in material enjoyment will be attracted to that and see that thing in the scriptures and nothing else. While those who are attracted to liberation will see that part of the scriptures and not be attracted to anything else. However, some people who are interested in liberation may understand The soul is eternal. The soul cannot lose its existence by merging with the absolute truth. Therefore, they understand after liberation, the soul still maintains her individuality. That persons understand that jivas are eternal, especially when they read things like in the Swetasada Upanishad, Nityo Nityanananas Chetanas Chetananam. Krishna is the supreme eternal amongst all eternals. Krishna is the supreme conscious entity amongst all conscious entities. So we understand, there is a difference between the jiva and Ishvara. And that difference is eternal. Other Vedic mantras also describe the existence of the soul after liberation. So such people think mukti cannot be the ultimate goal of life. Therefore, such persons become attracted to bhakti. Okay, devotion. So devotion has another sadhya and sadhan. Bhukti has another sadhya and sadhan. And mukti, liberation, has another sadhya and sadhan. Okay. So the problem is these first two, the process of bhukti and the process of jnana, this sadhan and sadhya is like a continuous chain. Like I was thinking the other night. For example, a man wants to enjoy. What he wants, I want a nice lady, a nice woman, or a nice wife. I cannot get a nice wife unless I have some money. So he gets a job. Why? Getting the job is the sadhan, the practice. But what's his goal? To enjoy. So with that money, he buys a car. If I can get a car, I can get a nice woman. So working hard is the sadhan, and the car becomes the sadhya, the goal. Then once he gets his car, then he has another goal. Now I have to find some woman. So finding a woman becomes the next sadhya. He's still working hard with the car and everything. Then he gets a woman. Now I need a house. Now the house becomes the next goal, the next sadhya. Then children come. Now I have to educate my children. That becomes the next sadhya. Now I need grandchildren. In this way, the sadhan and sadhya of both karma and mukti are never ending, like links in a chain. So we should understand what is the final sadhya, the final goal. After that, which is nothing, that will be the topmost sadhan, and that will be the topmost sadhya. So here it says, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the effect, the goal, or the sadhya that is attained at the final stage is the highest and ultimate sadhya, because there is no other sadhya, no other goal beyond it. When one crosses all the links in this chain of sadhya and sadhan, one eventually reaches the final link, which is known as bhakti. Bhakti is therefore the highest sadhya because it is the jiva's eternal state of perfection, nitya siddhabhav. Okay. So, karma and jnana, the conclusion is karma and jnana are not the final sadhya or sadhan. They are only intermediary stages. So, bear with me, Brajanath now asks he has 6 pages of questions, and we have half an hour. So everyone try and hear carefully. So these, if you hear nicely these question and answers between Brajanath and Babaji Maharaj, you will not become bewildered when we meet followers who have nishtha or faith in jnana or karma. For example, people say, well, what about this? It says this in the scripture, it says this in the scripture. Then sometimes we become bewildered. No? So by hearing this nicely, you'll be able to reconcile everything. So Brajanath says, there are many statements in the Upanishads which do not establish bhakti as the supreme goal. It's said in the Brihad Aranakya Upanishad, Kena kam pasya, who sees what? Right? Because you merge with Bhagavan, who is seeing what? There's no one left to see, there's no one to be seen, and there's no experience of seeing. So kena kam pasyat, who should see and what will they see? Also, It states in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. In the Aitreya Upanishad, Pragyanam Brahma, consciousness is Brahma. And in the Chandogya Upanishad, it says, Tattvamasi Swetaketu, O Swetaketu, you are that same Brahma. Therefore, considering all this, what is wrong is considering mukti as the ultimate goal, because it says in the scriptures. So hear very carefully this answer. Babaji Maharaj said, I've already explained there are many different types of sadhyas according to the different tastes and tendencies of the souls in this world. One cannot accept the validity of mukti as long as he has desires for material enjoyment. In the same way, if he has desires for liberation, he cannot feel attraction to the path of mukti. No? Therefore, scriptures fulfill all desires. So scriptures are written for everyone on all levels. For example, it says, Akshayam Hava Chatumasi Yajna. Those who observe the vow of Chatumas obtain perpetual residence in heaven. Like we described this a little bit last week, it also says in Chatumas, if 4 months you don't massage your body with oil, the next life you have a body like Indra. If 4 months you don't eat honey, then next life you can sing like the Gandharvas. If 4 months you don't sleep on a bed, then next life you can become king of this earth planet. Many things it says like that. So scripture says these things. So people who want material enjoyment, they will think, my God, what's the use in honey for 4 months? If I give up a little bit of honey, I get so much more honey in the next life. So scriptures describe these things. If you want to reside in heaven eternally, then means for a long time, then follow Chatumas. Does that mean that mukti is useless? Does that mean mukti is not mentioned anywhere in the scriptures? No, it does not mean that at all. The materialists desire only sense gratification. They cannot see anywhere in the scriptures concerning mukti. They have no taste, they cannot see. Does that mean that mukti does not exist anywhere in the scriptures? Some people say, a few rishis have also said renunciation is for the immature, for the incompetent. They should renounce everything. This is not actually true, but this is to encourage people who have nishtha in the performance of their fruitive actions, their karma. Like many Indians, you hear, what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? Krishna says to do your karma. Right? What does that mean? Krishna says what? Look after your wife and children and do your job nicely. That is not the goal of Bhagavad Gita. But because that is their qualification, they read Bhagavad Gita, that is their understanding. But that understanding is not the ultimate understanding. So when people come with different statements of the scriptures, it says this, and we should also argue like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yes, that is to increase people's eligibility who have that type of faith. Who already have that type of eligibility, to increase that and nourish that, scripture says like that. This does not mean this is the ultimate conclusion. It is inauspicious for jivas to neglect the duties for which they are responsible. If one carries out one's duties with full faith that these are appropriate for my present level, one easily gains qualification for the next level. Consequently, prescriptions in the Vedas promoting this type of faith have not been condemned. On the contrary, if one condemns such prescriptions, one is liable to fall down. All jivas who have attained elevation in this world have done so by strictly adhering to the duties for which they are qualified. Therefore, one of the 10 offenses to the holy name is to blaspheme the Vedic scriptures. Right? You cannot say, why does Vedas say follow Chaturmas and go to heaven? This is foolish. If you say like this, you are making offense to the Vedas. The scriptures know how to encourage everyone's according to their present eligibility. No, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Chaitanya Shikshamrita, when you climb stairs, first you should be firmly situated on one stair. That is your present level of eligibility. When you're firmly situated on the present stair, then you can extend your foot to go to the next level. No? Then when you shift your weight, and your weight comes more into the new level, then automatically you give up the previous level and advance. So Gyan is definitely superior to karma because it gives liberation. Nonetheless, the scriptures that discuss the competence for karma praise only karma and do not discuss mukti. In the same way, the scriptures which glorify Gyan do not discuss bhakti. And the scriptures which discuss bhakti do not discuss karma or Gyan. However, just as the eligibility for Gyan is higher than the eligibility for karma, in the same way the eligibility for bhakti is higher than the eligibility for Gyan. Mantras such as Tattvamasi, Pragyanam Brahma, Sarvakalamidam Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, these praise impersonal liberation. This is to strengthen the faith and the nistha of those persons who have that eligibility, who have that present qualification. For this reason, it is not wrong to establish the eminence of Gyan. However, Gyan is not the ultimate goal of life. So, the Vedic mantras establish the final conclusion that bhakti is the sadhan and prema bhakti is the goal, sadhya. That's not said, but the statements that I just said, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Kalvam, Sarvidam, Kalvam, Sarvidam, Pragyanam Brahma, Sarva, what is it? Sarva Kalvalamidam Brahma. These are the Mahavakyas, the four main statements of the Vedas. Babaji Maharaj said these four statements nowhere have been said to be the Mahavakyas of the Vedas. And it's not said anywhere in the Vedas that these four are superior to any other statement of the Vedas. Actually, Omkar is the only Mahavakya of the Vedas. In Gita, Krishna says, Pranava Sarva Vedashu. In all the Vedas, I am Omkar. No? It is dogmatic of you just to take one statement and neglect the others. Especially when the Vedas themselves have not said like that. No? To do so is an offense to the Vedas. The Vedas describe many extraneous goals and the means to attain them. The Vedas also in some places describe the glories of karma and jnana. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Veda Teguna Visayam, Krishna says, mostly the Vedas deal with materialistic modes of nature, materialistic topics. The Vedas describe many extraneous goals and the means to achieve them. The Vedas, some places, glorify karma and jnana. But the conclusion, the Vedas establish that only bhakti is the sadhya and the sadhana. The Vedas are like a wish-fulfilling cow, and Krishna himself is the milkman. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, Tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi jnanibhyo pi atika mataha karmibhyas cha atikik yogi tasmad yogi bhavajuna yoginam api sarvesham madkarantaratmana shadavan bhajate yomam sameyuktatamataha. Krishna himself speaks this. Oh, in the end of 6th chapter, O Arjuna, the yogi is superior to the performer of austerities. The yogi is superior to the jnani. The yogi is superior to the karmi. Therefore, Arjuna, tasmad yogi bhava Arjuna, therefore yogi, Arjuna, you should become a yogi. When Arjuna heard this, he became depressed. Does Krishna think my love for him is so weak, I have to sit and do meditation to remember him? So Krishna smiled, Yoginam api sarvesham matkarantaratma. Of all the yogis who always remembers me within himself and serves me with Shraddha, he is the topmost yogi. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also discusses how the bhakta is the topmost. Also, many verses here he gives from the Vedas describing and the Upanishads describing the topmost position of Bhakti Yoga. Yasya deve para bhakti yasya deve tata guru tasya tahiyata prakasamatmi mahatmana. That person who has implicit faith in the spiritual master, all the secrets of the Upanishads are revealed to them. In the Gopal Tapani Upanishad it is said, Bhakti performed for the pleasure of Bhagavan is known as bhajan. This means to give up all desires for enjoyment in this world and the next, and to dedicate one's mind to Krishna. This bhajan also entails freedom from all fruitive activity. Atmava Ari Dristavya Sutavya Mantavya Nidhi said. This is also said the same verse Brajanath quoted. O Maitreya, one should see, hear about, think, and meditate upon the absolute truth, the Paramatma. That is bhakti. To see, to think, to hear about, and meditate on Krishna, that is bhakti. When one studies these Vedic statements carefully, it is clear that bhakti is the best spiritual practice. Okay. Rajana asked, the Karmakand section of the Vedas gives instruction to also perform bhakti to Ishwara, who gives the result of all karma. In the Gyan Kand section, we also find instructions to satisfy Hari by performing this sadhan chatusta. So how can bhakti be the sadhya if it is the means to achieve bhukti and mukti? Right? For example, in the Karma Kand, when you're doing yagya, in the last, Govinda Swaha, Gopijana Vallabha Swaha, I want to go to heavenly planets, oh Govinda, accept my offering. Also, Sankacharya said, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja, oh my brother, if you want liberation from material existence, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. So Brajanath's question is, no, bhakti has been used to achieve karma and gyan. How can you say bhakti is the supreme? Then Babaji Maharaj explains, no, actually bhukti and mukti cannot give result without some touch of devotion. Krishna explains in the 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita, who gives the result of one's fruitive activity? Who is the giver of the result? That is only Krishna. Therefore, without a little bit of devotion to Krishna, you cannot fulfill your material desires. Without a little bit of mercy from Krishna, you cannot attain liberation from birth and death. But these are the secondary results of pure bhakti. They are not the primary results. No? Therefore, there are two types of devotion, pure and mixed. So when devotion is mixed with fruitive activity, that is called karma mishra bhakti. When one does some devotion to get a nice wife or to go to heavenly planets, this is called karma mishra bhakti. And when one worships Krishna to achieve liberation from birth and death, this is called Gyan Mishra Bhakti. No? These both are called Arop Siddha Bhakti. Arop Siddha Bhakti means it looks like Bhakti, but actually it's not. You are superimposing Bhakti to get an inferior result. Okay. For example, someone may say, Oh Yadunandan, oh Krishna, I have come to you out of fear of material existence. I chant your name, Hare Krishna, day and night. Please give me liberation. O Supreme Lord, you are Brahma. Please deliver me from entanglement and let me merge with you. This is called Chaya Bhakti Abhas, a semblance of devotion. Or devotion mixed with Gyan, empiric knowledge. Okay. So, when Brajanath heard all this, he could not speak anything more. That's always a good sign. Someone has no more questions. That means now intelligence has failed. And you realize what I'm trying to achieve is beyond my experience, beyond the senses, beyond my intelligence. So I have to surrender to Krishna. Material effort exhausted, from there bhakti begins. Krishna says, Mamiya vyabhacharana bhakti yogana sevati. When one crosses the ocean, when one crosses sattva, raja, and tama, he comes to me. So, Rajanath could not say anything. And inside, he's thinking, what? All the examination, discussion of all these subtle philosophical truths. This is called mimamsa, right? Philosophical speculation to understand what is God. That's why Bhagavad Gita is considered the best of them amongst the Shastras, because so exclusively and exhaustively it discusses all this. Right? The first 6 chapters. So Brajanath, what I've just heard, all these subtle philosophical truths, this is infinitely superior to the discussion of the Nyaya Shastra. Raghunath Das Babaji Mahasoy is vastly learned. I will definitely acquire knowledge by inquiring from him about such topics. It is very late, I should go home. So he said, Babaji Mahasoy, by your mercy I have received essential spiritual knowledge. I would like to come from you time to inquire. You are a deeply realized teacher and a great scholar. Please be merciful to me. Well, now he's developing the qualities of disciple Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita. Tadvidi pratipatina pariprashnana sevya. Moods of surrender, moods of inquiry, and what you say I must do. This is mood of seva. Please, I have one more question. Did Sachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu write anything? Did he give any instructions? I want to read. I'm very eager to read it. Babaji Maharaj said, Sriman Mahaprabhu did not write any books of his own, but his followers have written thousands. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave 8 instructions, that is in Shikshastik. This is like a necklace for the sadhaks. This includes all the confident instructions of the Upanishads, the Puranas, the Vedanta, and the Gita. Based on these essential 8 verses of the Shikshastik, the devotees have composed 10 fundamental truths, Das Mul Shiksha. This Das Mul succinctly, clearly describes the sadhya and the sadhan, with reference to the 3 divisions of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojan. Okay, we'll say that again. Das Mul Shiksha contains what? Clear description of the sadhan, the practice, and the goal, according to what? The divisions of Sambandha Gyan, Abhidheya, and Prayojan. Das Mul Tattva, Das Mul Shiksha. You should understand this Das Mul Tattva. Rajanath, yes. Whatever you order, I must fulfill. You're my Shiksha Guru. I will come tomorrow evening and hear from you Das Mul Tattva. Rajanath did pranam, and Babaji Maharaj embraced him. My son, you have purified the dynasty of Brahmanas. It will give me great pleasure to speak to you tomorrow evening. So tomorrow morning, day after tomorrow, we'll begin the 2nd division. Okay? Fundamentals of Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojan. Chapter 13. Okay. So nice progress we're making. So, a little extra homework. Okay. Our Gurudev spent the first 3-4 years of his preaching tour teaching everyone this Das Mul Tattva. Every place he would go, he would say, Prema, stand up, speak Das Mul Tattva. You know the verse of Das Mul Tattva? Why not? You should learn it, okay? Today you have to learn it. Write it on a piece of paper and learn it. Go to every class, stand up, what is Das Mul Tattva? Stand up, what is Das Mul Tattva? Explain. The first 3, 4 years of his preaching was explaining this Dasmal Tattva. And his whole Jaiva-Dharma, from this second part on, is also a description of this Dasmal Tattva. So this verse is based on the 9 teachings of Madhvacharya. This is all been recorded by Sri Baladev Vijayabhushan in his Pramaya Ratnavali. Okay, it's there on page 282, the beginning of chapter 13. We're requesting everyone to learn it. Okay, it's a little hard because it's very condensed. But if you just look at it in 3, 4 days, it should be kantasta, means completely memorized. Okay, so today people can read this again, 12th chapter, and then afterwards study this 13th chapter and also start to learn this Dasmul Tattva. Okay? Well, Premanandi, so many Mexicans and Ukrainians and others, but only one American watching. So many Chinese and everyone, but Americans, no time. Okay. Maybe because time difference there. Okay. Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Go Premanandi. Thank you very much.